really talk about it. You don't really think twice at all about breaking your arm and going to see a doctor. But heaven forbid you're feeling depressed, or you're having some thoughts you want to hurt yourself, or you're maybe hearing voices or something. I mean, nobody wants to go see a doctor for that. That's not something. Must have been something bad that I ate. I don't know. But there's a sense where I should be able to figure this out on my own, rather than, well, if it was anything else that was wrong with me, I would go to a doctor and get some help. There seems to be reservation to not want to do that in our society in general. I think there's a stigma around mental illness in our society. I think that how could it not be here? I think it's all over. I think it's one of those things that people don't really talk about. Anytime it comes to any one of the staff members' attention here in the building, whether it's myself or any of the teachers, we have a fantastic group of counselors and counseling centers that are all trained to be able to help students work through some of those early issues. While we're certainly not a therapeutic placement, they certainly can help students begin to process some of the things that they're struggling with.
When you hear that someone has a mental illness, does it affect your opinion on that person? Be honest.
I guess a little bit.
I think for other people it does, but not me necessarily. But I think in general a lot of people have many misconceptions about mental health issues.
I think it can affect other people's opinions, but like it doesn't affect mine.
Yeah.
I think other people weigh into it too much.
Like, do you believe that people treat someone who they know has a mental illness differently than if they didn't have it?
Yes. The first one I can think of is like eating disorders, and like people are like, oh, she's looking for attention.
I mean, by like being treated nicer, I think that would happen more.
To be serious, dude?
I would treat them differently than I would treat other people. Like
Generally, a referral comes from a friend of a friend, or it could come from a teacher. I try to get as much information as I can about what the issue or the concern is, and to be able to gain an understanding over whether or not the person will allow me to use their name or not, or would like to be in the room for the initial introduction. And then I usually reach out to the student to have them come in and meet with me. I think there's a stigma about mental illness within our entire country, within our culture. If someone breaks a bone, they immediately go to a doctor, get an x-ray, get a cast on it, and start the healing process. With mental illness, people tend to deny or say, it's not that bad, or they don't want to come out and say that they're feeling necessarily depressed, suicidal, thoughts of hurting themselves, because it almost appears to be a weakness.
Does that surprise you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was that many.
it does not surprise me.
Does that
That's
surprise
surprising,
you?
yeah. Oh, that's terrible.
Like, I don't know what happens at home. It sounds when kids extreme. are here.
You, or does anyone you know suffer from a mental illness?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, probably yes.
Probably.
Maybe I just don't know about it.
Yes.
A bunch of people I know, yeah.
Yes.
I think that the stigma is not just in our school, but it is across our country. I think that the reason that students maybe know very little is they may not have experienced it themselves, or they may not have had a need to know about mental illness. So what they've learned has either been through curriculum or through experience with another person or within their families. So the lack of knowledge is merely because they haven't had to learn about it unless there's a friend or someone where they've looked to more information. I also don't think that as a school we do enough to educate students outside of the health curriculum.
In some ways, I think some people find it very hard to accept. I don't think that it's any different in Downtown West than in most schools, though, so I don't think it's any more of a problem. But I do think people tend to have difficulty accepting some mental illnesses, yeah.
And do you think that there's a stigma around mental illness at Downingtown West?
I wouldn't say just at Downingtown West. I've worked in a couple different schools, and just in general, I think that there is a stigma. I think that people don't fully understand that it's an illness and it needs support. I think that people are afraid sometimes to admit that they need support. I know there's a stigma just with the counseling office. When we call students in, oftentimes they look frightened when we bring them down here. They need to understand that we're just here to help, and this is never a place where you're coming to get in trouble, even if it's something that you might be uncomfortable to talk about. We're just here to support you.
I mean, a school is really just a microcosm of society, right? So in school, we have all the same mental illnesses and problems that you would see in the larger society. We do our best to support our students here at West, and I like to think that we do a decent job.
I think the public treats people with mental illness differently. In the respects, either they cripple them or they give them more leniency towards different responsibilities.
What is a stigma?
A stigma is like a negative connotation around, like if people find out that...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, people don't think it's as bad as it seems, especially people that haven't suffered with it. So I think that they'd be like, oh, they're just overreacting to things when that's not the case.
One of my friends has autism, and she's a really close friend of mine. I would actually consider her my sister, and our families are really close. And even though she thinks a little differently and she's a little more rambunctious, she's like one of my favorite people to talk to. Like I wouldn't say she's a different person just because she has a mental illness.
I don't think it's really talked about, so I guess in that way, like, it does have a stigma because it's kind of taboo.
Anything that you know about the mental illness schizophrenia?
I don't really know anything about it.
You hear voices?
Oh, it's like when you hear voices.
Isn't that when you get like kind of nervous and
It's pretty bad.
You go crazy.
Know anything about bipolar disorder?
Yes.
when your moods change quickly?
When you have like a split personality,
It's
when you have multiple behaviors in one person.
Like the teacher has bipolar disease. I don't know if it's a disease or anything, but it's like the teacher's bipolar. At the beginning of class, the teacher may love you. She may praise you, but at the end of the class, she may be like really mad at you for no reason.
And they can change sporadically and quickly, and it's very bad, and you need medicine for it if you have it, depending on the type of bipolar disorder.
Doesn't that have something to do with like the levels of like vitamins and stuff in your body?
Do you know anything about the mental illness depression?
It's pretty bad. I mean, people get really sad.
Depression, like, a lot of people think they're depressed, but depression is like, you have to be depressed for like 2 weeks. It's like all these things, and it's like really serious, and sometimes medicine's not enough to help.
It affects the way you think and see like real life situations. Like if you have a bad day, someone may take it harder and then actually hurt themselves because of what happened, because like their mind thinks differently.
So I've known a lot of people that struggled with it, and I know that a lot of people would think that it's not a medical issue, I guess, and it definitely is. I know so many people that have like struggled with it.
Know about ADHD?
When you can't focus and are thinking of too many things at one time. I know that it's like kind of like ADD, except you're more hyperactive.
A lot of times they will like get special help in school or like extended time on SATs
And it makes you kind of be a little more jittery than usual, and your brain is a little spottier and you jump from issues to issues. So
Okay. All right. Did you feel uncomfortable during any of this and being asked these questions?
No. Why would I feel uncomfortable?
Nah.
All right. Did you feel uncomfortable during any of this and being asked questions about mental illnesses?
No.
no.
not really.